Hi everyone, welcome back to Youth Korner Podcast Jeunesse. I'm Emma, your host, and today we are sitting with a return guest, Fabienne Alary, who is a high school student here in the Laurentians, who also does competitive speed skating. So welcome back, Fabienne.
Hello.
So it's a big month for people doing any kind of winter sports. As we're filming this, today is February 16th. We are slightly more than halfway through the Winter Olympics of 2026. So how are you feeling about that as a youth competitor watching your sport happening on the Olympic level?
I've been watching it since the first day. Mom woke me up at 4 a.m. to watch my favorite skater do his race.
Nice.
So I've been watching it for the past few days, for the past, I think, 6 days.
Okay.
3 days left, so I'm really excited to see how it unfolds until the end, see how many medals we get, see the performances.
Nice. And do you know off the top of your head, do we have any medals in speed skating yet?
We have 2 bronze ones from Courtney, and in the relays, we're probably going to get some because we're really good in the relays.
Wonderful.
And we've made it to the A final.
Okay, well that's awesome, and it's always pretty special to see the Olympics just in general, especially as a Canadian living in the Laurentians where we have winters like this.
Yeah.
And but I can only imagine what it's like for somebody who's competing at such a high level at such a young age as well, to be seeing all of this happening.
Yeah, the arena is really beautiful too in Milan.
Yes. I always find that the Olympic stadiums and the Olympics, the Olympic
really nice.
Complexes are always beautiful, but Italy really went all out this year.
They did.
Wonderful. So I guess we're going to get started with talking about where you're at. We did this interview about this time last year as well. And since then, I understand that you've actually changed or advanced into a different speed skating club. So can I ask you a little bit about that?
So I went from being in the Pays d'en Haut last year to being in Rosemère now.
Okay.
So I'm still affiliated with Pays d'en Haut, so I represent them when I'm competing.
Okay.
But I'm just practicing with Rosemère this year, and they're a huge part of my success this year. Because the level that they had at Pays d'en Haut wasn't really helping me anymore, so I was one of the fastest there. I decided to go up to Rosemère, and now Rosemère, I feel like I fit in really well, and they're a lot faster, so they could pull me in practices. They make me faster, and I can just follow most of the really more advanced skaters there.
Oh, that's wonderful. How soon was it once you made the switch, how soon was it that you started noticing that extra push and that extra challenge?
The first weeks.
Okay.
I joined right away, and the first practice we had was what we call it Semaine Rouge. So we have green, orange, and red. The red is the hardest. Green is obviously the easiest. And we started right away in Semaine Rouge, and it was the toughest training that I've had for a very long time compared to what training I had in Pays d'en Haut. So it was the very first week, he put me in the higher groups, and I was getting pulled, but also I was trying to push myself. It didn't really work. So now I'm in one of the lower groups in Rosemère because they're really, really strong athletes. But I felt the first week it was pretty hard.
But that's wonderful too, because I remember last year when we had this discussion too, you were really talking about how so much of the competing side of things for the sport for you is really your own timing as well, and your own experience with it. It has less to do with the other skaters and more to do with your own performance. So to know that you're going into something where maybe you won't necessarily be the best right off the bat, but you are surrounded by people who are going to challenge you to be better at it, must be a very rewarding feeling as well.
It is.
Do you find at all that were there any difficult elements in terms of integrating into a new group with people that maybe you didn't know super well?
I think it was just getting to know them more, and also it was hard because I missed a few practices due to how far it is.
Yes.
For the 50-minute drives, sometimes an hour plus with traffic. So that was also one of them. So I couldn't really integrate myself that much because I was missing a lot of practices. But also just getting to know the skaters, and I already knew some of the girls there, so I clicked pretty fast with them, and it was just getting into the vibe of how things worked there, how it was done, people's speeds, just looking at them skate and integrating myself in the best way that I could.
Nice. Well, you bring up an interesting point that was one we talked a little bit about it off camera as well. But the reality of distance playing a factor in an Laurentian youth's sports career as well, because you said 55 minute drive. You're going from correct me if I'm wrong, Saint Adele to Rosemere, right?
So some days I'll leave even from school because if I go home, I don't
Right.
have enough time to get there on
Right.
time for practices. And so since I do 2 days in Rosemere, and I actually do practice twice in Laval too.
Okay.
In Laval, it actually takes us less time than Rosemere.
That
due
makes
to
sense.
traffic. But during the week, sometimes I'll leave from school, which takes us around 50 minutes. And then if I leave from home and we get there right when the traffic starts, an hour and 15 minutes. But it's
Yeah.
quicker on the way home, so it's fine.
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
And-
And about how long is practice time for you?
An hour, and then the hors glace, like the warm up, probably like 45 minutes.
Okay. Okay. So you're with changing time and whatnot too. You're kind of budgeting at
2
about 2
hours.
hours.
Yeah.
And how many times do you do it once a week, or how many times do you do it? A week?
Rosemere it's twice,
Okay.
and then Laval it's 3,
Okay.
because I coached at Piano too, so that's
That's true.
full 5 days.
Wow. Okay. So you're
going
putting
there.
in a full work week on top of being a high school student
Yeah.
as well. That's impressive, and that's it's a crazy thing to talk about, because you're 15 now as well. You were 14 when we did the interview last
Yeah.
time. So you're a year older, but that means that there's more responsibilities with school and with your social life as well. So to add that on top of it is a huge commitment.
Yeah.
And that has to be, a determining factor for a lot of young athletes as well living in the Laurentians, is that if you don't have the access, whether it's through transportation or timing or whatever the resources you need to get to your training and get to your practice, if you don't have that, it's going to cause issues with your career as well.
It's hard to get up to like high levels if
Yeah.
you actually are committed to the sport because things are so far away. We don't have that many good like facilities that are close.
Yeah.
So if you really want to get high in your sport, you have to go like Montreal.
Yes.
And commit to
Yeah.
staying there.
So essentially, the closer you live to Montreal, the better
better it
your
is.
chances are. Exactly. Which, can be read as a very unfortunate circumstance for people who are maybe living, in Lachute or further away from the island as well. That somebody might have the potential for it, but might not have the resources to get into it as
yeah,
well.
that's the case for a couple people I know too.
Yeah. Do you go to school with anyone who has been trying to get into this sport or another sport and has faced that?
Been trying to get into curling,
Okay.
and I think that they did a few practices somewhere near Laval, but Montreal, it would be like West Island if they really wanted to continue.
Yeah.
So she kind of started thinking like volleyball maybe. She's
Okay.
also very good in volleyball, but curling, it was like West Island, like 45 minutes away from her house, so
Yeah.
she couldn't really do that every day.
That's difficult, and that's always sad to hear too, because especially when you're so young and you have that potential to
Yeah.
do it, and then to know that you kind of have to start looking at different options perhaps because that's not a feasible reality as well. Well, to talk about slightly more positive side of that things too, is that when you do have the opportunity to go and do these things, like you said, it can be a pretty quick turnaround time in terms of socializing too, because you were with your old club for how many years?
I was with them for 3 seasons,
3
but
seasons.
2 years.
2 years, okay.
So I did a half season, then I did 2 seasons with them.
Okay. And then integrating into the new one, like you've said already, is that you've already kind of started making friends and making associations there much better as well. Have you competed with this new team?
A couple
already?
times. I've done 3 provincial competitions, and then I went to Calgary for the national.
Yes, you did. So let's talk about that a little bit too. Your trip to Calgary, how did that go?
It was really fun. It was over 5 days, so
Okay.
we stayed in an Airbnb with all of the other members that were there. We were
Oh, wow.
6 skaters, and so we had training days just to get like into the time change. I was really sick when I got there because of the flight and everything, so I needed a few days to adjust.
Yeah.
We stayed in the Airbnb for 4 days before we started practicing. We had 2 practices at the Olympic Oval, and then the competition began.
Okay. And how did you do in terms of competition?
Pretty well. The first day I ended it with a concussion.
Oh, no.
So I fell in my 500, and so, I don't know, I hit the mats in like a weird way that it did give me a concussion. And then the second day I felt a lot better, so he let me compete. My coach let me compete.
Okay.
But then after I had to take a break.
Yeah,
Because
I
I didn't come
bet.
to Calgary to do like 2 races.
Yeah.
But the concussion wasn't at the point where like I was throwing up. I was like always having a headache.
Right.
So it was fine for me to do the second day, but then after that I took a break. I wasn't on my phone as much.
Yeah.
But then the flight back was horrible with
Was
the concussion
rough, I bet.
because I don't know. Yeah.
Well, all that air pressure and
Yeah.
noise, like ambient noise, I can't imagine that's very
yeah,
good
I didn't get
too.
much sleep either during
No,
the days.
I imagine.
Getting up at 6 a.m. to compete and then going to bed at like 10:30 because
Yeah.
I'm socializing too much.
Yeah.
With the people.
Well, I remember this when that happened too for you as well. We were in touch, but you know, I remember your mother had mentioned as well something called concussion protocols, which I imagine exists in similar ways across sports, but within your team and within your club as well. Is that something that gets discussed amongst team members, or is it much more a one-on-one situation with coaches?
So in the beginning of the year at my club, we had like a beginning meeting, like a starter meeting and stuff, and concussion protocols was one of them. So we
Okay.
introduced it because it's common in my sport, and it's just 7 days where the first 24 hours you can't have a headache, then you wait 2 days, you start training again, but it's very light training, so you're only skating when the coach is explaining, barely getting low, barely doing crossovers.
Okay.
And then the few days after that, you slowly, very, very slowly getting into like intense practices again. But it took, I think, 2 weeks for me to get back at 100%, and that was really fast. Like,
Yeah,
it's a
no
fast
kidding.
recovery.
No kidding. Well, and you said that in speed skating, concussions can be pretty common as well. Like, I'm guessing you're probably not the only one in your club this year to have gotten a concussion.
I have a friend that's going under the concussion protocol right now.
Oh, really?
She did a concussion when we did the provincial in Laval,
Ooh.
and so she fell in her 1,000. And right away, her symptoms came back because it wasn't the first time she had a concussion.
Yeah.
She had one 2 years ago, and then right as she fell, her head like started hurting. The lights were really bright,
Oh,
and she
gosh.
had to do the bike test, what we call it, to see if you do have a concussion.
Okay.
And the first minute of the bike thing, she had a very big migraine, and
Oh,
so she had to
no.
go home, unfortunately. But she's coming back. She's doing the first 2 steps,
Okay.
so she hasn't had a headache for maybe a day or two, and then she's starting to just skate around
Okay.
slowly.
Okay. So she's recovering
Yeah.
now, at least. When you say bike tests, what exactly is that?
It's 20 minutes of bike,
Okay.
and then every 5 minutes you put the intensity up, so you put more like pressure,
Okay.
and then you try and last the 20 minutes without having headache, without feeling dizzy, and
Okay.
without the lights like hurting your eyes.
Okay, so it's really putting your cardio and
yeah.
your nervous system to the test
Yeah.
at that point to gauge where you're at. Okay,
Yes.
interesting. I had never heard of about that before. That's very interesting. Well, I'm glad to hear that she's recovering as well, and just in time too, because you guys aren't too far away from competing at Les Jeux de Québec, right?
Yeah.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, they're taking place in Blainville.
Yes, they're
this year.
taking place in Blainville, but we're doing them in Laval, so it's a competition site.
Okay.
Since they don't have an Olympic ice
Right.
in Blainville.
Right. So, how many races are you going to be doing this year? Do you know?
I actually have no idea.
You have no idea.
I have no idea.
I guess you'll be finding out soon enough.
Yes, but it's over 3 days of competition, I think. I think I'm competing for 3 days.
Okay.
And so I think I'm going to do every distance
Nice.
in those days.
What's
And
the
so it's gonna
shortest distance and what's the longest
be,
distance?
500 is the shortest distance.
Okay.
And then the longest is 1,500 if you're not counting the relay.
Okay.
The relay is the 2,000s.
Okay.
But we're only skating like twice in there.
Okay,
So it gives
okay.
us a break. So.
Are you on either the relay teams this
Yeah,
year? Okay.
we're the Laurentians, so all of the Laurentians is one team. We're 6 skaters.
Okay.
And so we're going to do the qualification, the semifinals, and then the finals.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. Well, I can't wait to see that as well, too. I can't wait to see the clips of that coming up.
It's my first time, so I don't...
It is your first
yeah.
time, too. That was going to be my next question, if this is your first Jeux de Québec.
Yeah. 2 years ago, I didn't really know what it was, and I wasn't
enough.
at the level yet where I could go against the other skater that was against me in my age category, and so I knew I was not going to win. That's not the reason I didn't do it, though. It was just I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it included, and it was just like my first year of skating.
Okay.
So I was a little bit intimidated at that, and I told myself in 2 years I'll try again, and so this year I did.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I guess in terms of competition, this year it's Jeux de Québec. What's the next step after this for you?
The next step that I'd like to do is the championships at the end of the year this year.
Okay.
I don't know where they are yet. And then next year, like I did in Calgary, it's the same type of thing as the Neo Juniors, but this time they're in Quebec City.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And Neo Juniors, what's the age range for that?
We're doing, it's 14, 15.
Okay.
And then the juniors, it's older. But for
Perfect.
us, for the Neo Juniors right now, that's about my level. So
Okay.
it's 14, 15. So I did them 14 last year, and then I'll do them 15 next year.
Okay, nice. Very nice. And I'm sure this is a question you get all the time. I know that I've asked you this before as well, but given the time of year that we're doing this recording and what's going on in Italy right now, do you have any aspirations for Olympics, you know, in 4 to 8 years?
I think that, that'd be like a dream come true for me.
Yeah.
Going to the Olympics. But I think that already if I do national competitions, that's going to be like not enough for me, but I'd be really satisfied with that. Obviously, Olympics is like the top goal, like that every person wants to do. So yeah, that'd be great. But starting with like the little comps, then going up to nationals and then Team Canada eventually.
Well, I definitely would be lying if I said that I wasn't, you know, kind of hoping to see. I think it's the French Alps or the Swiss Alps is the next location. I think it's the 2030 Olympics at that point. You know, I would definitely love to see Fabienne Alary listed in Team Canada. But whether you do or you don't, the strides that you have taken to progress your competitive career are absolutely phenomenal. You know, when we first met 2 years ago as well, I had no idea that you did this sport. And then just hearing about your progress ever since has just been, you know, one success after another. And even with your concussion earlier this year, the things that I was hearing about your performance in Calgary, you know, qualifying for Blainville continues to impress. So we will be wrapping up very shortly. I guess one of the last things I would really like to ask you about is, you know, we talked about this a bit earlier in the episode, the realities of, you know, a lack of resources and a lack of transportation for potential Laurentian athletes, youth athletes as well. What would you, if you were to encounter somebody who's going through a situation like that where they don't know if they're going to be able to make the practices in Laval or in Rosemere, or if they're maybe doubting themselves because of that reality, what advice would you give them?
There's not a lot of things that you can say because of the
It's tricky.
So
it is
far,
tricky.
But just to like keep that passion, like
advocate for
your
yourself.
sport.
Yeah.
And I mean, try and find ways, like the most you can, even though it's hard. If it's far, if it's because of money, because of transportation, because of the location where it's at. But I try and find ways, even if you could like miss practices once in a while. It's better, like having one bad practice is better than just like not going at all.
Yeah.
So just trying to be present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful advice too, is that it's acknowledging that there are difficulties and there are hurdles to that, but that it doesn't mean you're written off completely as well. And that if you advocate for yourself and for your sport and your competitive level, there are avenues and there are ways for you to get to that point.
When I had when I couldn't go to practices because they were far, I think what I would just do is put my hockey skates on and just go skate at another arena.
Well, there you
where
go.
There wasn't practices.
There
just
you
to
go.
Be on the ice.
You know, and that is one thing that we are very lucky to have in almost all towns in Quebec municipalities and Laurentian municipalities as well, is that the reality of the brutal winters we have is that there are outdoor rinks pretty much everywhere as well, and if they're not right next door to you, they're pretty close. So if you can't make a practice, or if you need a way to practice and you don't have the resources to go to a rink or to an arena, go do the public one. Just go do it and have fun with it.
Even though most places don't allow speed skates, just putting your hockey skates or
your skates on.
Being on the
You'll
ice.
go fast with those too.
Well, depends.
But yeah, exactly, especially compared to the professional levels that you have as well too. Well, Fabienne, we'll wrap up now. Thank you so much for coming and doing this interview again. It's always wonderful getting to chat to you about your sport. Congratulations on qualifying for Leisure de Quebec this year. I can't wait to see how you do and how your team does with it. I've been invested ever since I heard that they were happening in Blainville this year. And I'm sure we will talk more about this in the future. So to everybody watching, thank you so much for tuning in to Youth Korner Podcast Gen S today. Happy Olympic season to everyone. We hope that you are enjoying it. Way to go to Team Canada for all of your victories and your trials so far. And I will be seeing you guys in the next one. So stay tuned. We will have another episode out very shortly. Thank you, Fabienne, and we will see you in the next one.